Welcome to episode 14 of the Back Pick Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Thomas. Today's guest is Bennett Lee, a catcher that burst on the scene in the College World Series playing for Wake Forest.
Third base, fielded, coming home, and he can't get it out of his glove. Wow, the scoop is made. What a tag!
He was recently drafted this year in the 6th round by the Detroit Tigers. He talks a lot about all of his techniques, everything he's doing from a receiving, blocking, throwing standpoint. Big-time one-knee stance guy. Talks about the adjustment from college to the pros. A really great deep dive into a guy who's doing it currently right now. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. First and foremost, I got to ask this question to everybody that's experienced this. Talk a little bit about just Omaha and the College World Series in general.
Incredible. Definitely the most people I've played in front of. But it was just awesome to be there with all my guys and kind of showcase what I can do on that stage. It was a ton of fun. Totally.
Talk a little bit about your squad. I mean, I think obviously you guys were, powerhouse all year long. Talk about the strengths of what kind of made that go and kind of just a little the insights of that team aspect of college baseball for our listeners.
I'd say so. We obviously had all the talent on every side of the ball. We had incredible pitching, great hitting, and good defense. But the thing that made it all go together was our internal leadership, and that comes from the seniors, like these guys, Adam Cesari and Pierce Bennett, who were two senior outfielders. They were incredible leaders. And basically just a culture of holding each other accountable and being able to tell each other how things are. And then a great coaching staff as well that did a great job leading us. So I'd say besides the talent, it's the culture and just the amount of fun we had. The pure amount of fun that we had every single day, every single game was like almost a party. So you combine all those things and it's pretty special.
So when you say fun, is it like you guys created some sort of a culture of something, happening that's fun, or is just the idea of like, so I tell guys all the time, hey, when you're working your butt off and you're winning a bunch of games, that's kind of the fun piece.
Yeah, I'd say both. I mean, winning itself is fun and we did a lot of that, but also just like we would celebrate everything we did. Like we would celebrate homers, celebrate runs, just screaming in the dugout. We had, for every homer hit, the guy who hit the homer would come in and we'd take a little Polaroid picture. And then you'd like get the Polaroid after the game. So everyone, all these Polaroids up in their locker. And then we took a win photo after every game and posted it up. So we had like 50 something win photos, just Polaroids hanging out. And it's just really cool because like the better we did, the more Polaroids you had. And just, it was just a ton of fun all around.
Love it. Well, in our shop here, full of catching nerds, you became a sensation because, a lot of the same things we teach, especially on the receiving aspect, we saw you do at a really elite level. Just the pass that you were creating with your glove, obviously the timing and the movement, and then with all that came a ton of speed in terms of that movement with your glove. So break it down a little bit for us in terms of A, kind of what your philosophy is on your receiving, and then B, what you're doing to work on that.
Yeah, so before I get going, I would be remiss if I didn't give some credit to a teammate of mine and a coach of mine from Tulane University. So I played 2 years at Tulane and then 1 at Wake. And when I showed up my freshman fall, I was just like a little kid traditional catcher. And I didn't know anything about knee down or glove loads or anything like that. I caught like a normal kid. And this 5th year, his name's Hayden Hastings. He's now a coach himself. Kind of taught me the way. Like he knew a lot of the stuff, had experimented with it himself, and we worked together all fall. And then combined with our volunteer coach, Adam Core, who's now at Lindenwood University, those two guys both have a great understanding of everything going on in the catching world today and helped me a ton at my time at Tulane. And I just continued to progress that throughout Wake and through now. But what I would say Receiving wise, obviously I like to give a good target, and then the glove load for me is huge. I like to stay on the ground as long as possible. So oftentimes, like, my glove doesn't just touch the ground, it hits the ground and rolls back. And then I go forward almost like scraping the ground with my thumb as I come up. And I try to stay as backhanded and just like, what do you call this? Like a 6 o'clock thumb
Yep.
angle as long as possible. And then it'll naturally get to horizontal as I go. Early on, I had to do a lot of like training to trust staying on the ground. That was the hardest thing. But once you kind of get that and have more experience with it in the game, it gets super easier. And then another thing for me was like I would like try to go really high, so I had to kind of cut like put a ceiling on it a little bit. So now I just try to work as fast as I can to the ceiling and stop. So that's kind of a little bit of what I try to do.
So what are some drills you're doing to kind of train the aspect of just the patience, the timing piece, right? I mean, like, I love it being on the ground. I tell the guys all the time, when the glove's on the ground, we know where it is. It's a little tougher in space to always know where you are. But just the idea of the patience and understanding of hey, I'm going to move to this thing. And I'm going to get there eventually. But just that piece, how do you train that?
Yeah, so what I do is I get on the machine and put on these slow breaking balls, like these really slow breaking balls, and I just have to sit there the whole time while it's coming in the air, waiting for it, and then I try to be soft to it. So that is great for timing and patience and just kind of like not rushing anything, because like you said, you will get there, you will go out and catch the baseball. So that kind of drill with slow curveballs really helps. But also, like, I think the most valuable thing for me is just bullpens. Like, working on it every day in bullpens, trying to catch as many guys as I can every single day. And then catching like 100-something games in college. Just the more experience you get, the better you will get at it. The more you will trust balls coming at you, the less antsy you will get. And honestly, the more relaxed you can the more you can relax yourself, the more you can relax your chest, the more you can relax your hands, the less everything's going to be jumpy, and the more you can kind of let it travel and do your thing. So I think all of that is helpful.
And obviously you do it with some ridiculous speed at times. And is that something that, again, you're training, or is that just your natural ability with your hands and more of just a timing component?
Yeah, I'd say that just kind of shows up in the game. I don't know if I necessarily train as quickly as I can, but I definitely in the game I try to move it as fast as I can and stop. But yeah, I don't really know. The speed kind of just happens when I'm in the flow of the game, and catching for me is like it's a really fun art, and when I'm lost in that, it's just really fun. So the speed just comes naturally out of flowing in that kind of art.
Awesome. So give us some other drills. I mean, obviously, you're using the machine to create certain pitches. Is there anything else that you're doing just strictly on the receiving piece still?
Yeah, so I would say another huge thing that helped me win pitches is like anticipating lanes per se and loading according to those lanes. So like sliders coming in this way, I want to meet it on that same plane. So my glove's starting target wise, but it's coming down this path and coming back into the zone on that path. And same thing for like sinkers or some changeups, it's coming here and around this way. So kind of just like matching the plane and bringing everything back to the middle, and anticipation wise. And even if it's not a huge like glove move, it's a mental thing too. It's like this pitch is coming this way. I need to position my glove to get around it and just like perceive that it's going to come this way so I can get around it. So a little bit of a glove pre-pitch load based on what's coming and a mental anticipation allows you to really just like to just get the pitch and move it back into the zone in one motion. Yeah, with the glove, I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. So talk a little bit about, I love the kind of pre-pitch that matches the plane of the pitch. Talk a little bit about when the ball is not where you intended it to be, but it is a strike, right? We're set up maybe slider away, and we're anticipating that thing this way, and then it ends up backing up over the plate, which is it's on the white. It's a strike, and a lot of times those are the ones, especially at our younger levels with these guys, that we really try to emphasize. Let's keep strikes by catching the ones that are strikes. So what are you doing on something like that?
Yeah, so I think that just has to go back to your trust going this way. You have to find out in bullpens or on the machine how far you can go this way before like either your thumb gets blown up or just like how much room you have going this way. Because that slider's coming away, you have to quickly kind of just and for me it's learning what my limit is per se on that side, and then anything within that I'm able to almost like as if my right hand's the ground, just like come back on the ground and pick it up. And I think that is trained in bullpens, and you can do it off the machine, obviously. But for me, it's just trust with how far I can go this way and keeping the thumb vertical, and allowing for the pocket to get hit on this side.
So you're like tracking that first, kind of when you first see where this thing's going, you're tracking that thing like with glove movement, but staying on the ground. Like you're not elevating off the ground until you're 100% where you're going.
I think so. Yeah.
So even like that misfire where you just said that, like you'd be set up here, but you would still feel your glove be on the ground as you made that move back.
Yeah. Or at least that's the thought in my head to get there to where it's a smooth transition in one move.
I love that. I love the guys using the ground. It's interesting because so many catchers are hesitant with it in terms of the ground. They feel like maybe they got a pitcher that'll give them shit about not give them a target or that whatever it is, right? But It's like, man, knowing where you are is so valuable, and I love that. Even we talk about the idea of like matching planes, but I love the idea of even sticking on the ground as you go to a misfire. That's freaking sweet. So
yeah,
just kind of knowing where you're at. And then you talk about the thumb down a lot, kind of in that, backhand or 6 o'clock position.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what that creates and why you like to be there.
Yeah. So I start like normal glove target, say 3 o'clock. And then as I load down, it turns into 6 as I'm on the ground. And what that does, it just creates a pocket angle that gives you a ton of room for error and allows you to stay like low and smooth as you come up. And as you catch the ball, like for me at least, I'm always going to naturally come back to being horizontal. Like it just does. When you catch the ball, you come back to being horizontal. But if I'm loaded and then I leave that position early is when I get beat on balls here versus staying vertical throughout and catching the pocket and then coming back to horizontal. So I guess it's just the trust of staying on the ground with that vertical pocket angle, and then the ones where it's not so great is when I come up early this way versus stay through it this way, because it's always going to come back to horizontal. So I guess that's a little bit of my thought process.
That's one that's tough too. We find all the time is the idea that at the bottom they just want so badly to start turning that thing, and it just happens early, and it's like, no, just again, just like an infielder is gonna use the upper arm to make that move through the ball, not going to get wristy or turn that thing. It's the same idea where we're trying to get guys to understand that. So I mean, that's money, exactly what we're working with.
Yeah.
So have you had a chance to work with Coach Shenko yet?
Yes, I have. So I showed up a couple days after the draft in Lakeland, and we were working together for like the first week and a half or so before I got placed and went and played. But yeah, he's awesome. He's great.
No, he's the man. What tidbits he gets you going on in those first couple weeks?
Yeah. So he didn't really try to change a ton just because I'm new and kind of want to let me go play. But we did work a lot on that staying backhanded, staying 6 o'clock as long as I can, because that's something he noticed in my receiving is just that what I was saying earlier, the ones where I'm necessarily aren't as clean as when I come out of that angle early and then like twist the glove up versus keep that angle the whole time and then stay horizontal, stay catching the ball and like pointing it at the pitcher after I receive it. So that was kind of what we worked on. And then we talked a lot about just like game management side of it. The way to get to know pitchers, me coming in as a new guy, and how to scout hitters on True Media and how to scout hitters with looking at their swings. So even more than just receiving side, we talked about game management as well.
Love it. I love it. So talk a little bit about the stances. Where do you feel, you use both knees? Do you feel, what situations do you feel comfortable, not comfortable? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I go fully on the knee the whole time, no matter what. And with no guys on, right-handed batter in the box, I'm usually going to be left knee down. I'm usually just going to be left knee down, chilling, right knee up, or even in a left knee down right kick, depending on the pitcher, kind of. Because sometimes guys, like, they don't need a big target to see, so I'll just be chilling and left knee down, right knee up, doing my thing. But other guys, like, I found that if I kick out that other leg, it creates just like a bigger target, per se, and a bigger area for them to work through. So for some guys, I like to I'll just get like super wide and have my left knee down, right knee out, just like give them a big target to help them kind of work through me. And then left-handed hitter, I try to be right knee down, same thing. And all of that is just creating angles for the umpire to look at, creating good slots for the umpire to get in there. If you're with a right-handed hitter, he's going to be like right on that high inside corner. So I want to be in a good spot, giving him this whole lane to see the pitch really well. And same thing inverse with a lefty. And then with two strikes, I feel my best blocking in a right knee down with a left kickstand. I can do it the other way, but I've just found it the best. Right knee down, kicked out with the left leg is my best for blocking and receiving with two strikes and with guys on. And I would say the hardest part of me transitioning from traditional to fully one knee was being able to read and throw guys out. I found that my throwing off the knee wasn't as great as traditional, so I had to work into like a hybrid to where now, like you guys see a lot of big league guys, like they'll kind of you read that the runner goes and then that right knee peels off the ground, and so basically you're in a traditional stance and then can go from there. So that was the big learning curve for me. Is I was always great with receiving and blocking off the knee, but I needed to find a way to turn it into traditional to throw well.
So you're always right knee down with runners on?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So talk about the blocking component to that, just a little bit of the technique. So you always kickstand with that right knee down, and then are you adjusting it back in for the throw?
So I start out normal. I start out like, I guess, compact, and then kick out as I read the runner.
Gotcha.
And now it's turned into like more of a, it's kind of just, it's unique to me, where like I'll like be peeling my knee off the ground and going through this like little, if you watch with fast runners on base, it was really cool. Because Rhett Lauder, like our best pitcher, Wake, would know like when the guy's about to steal based off me, like, it's hard to explain. My right knee, I'd be like peeling my knees off the ground, and he'd be like, "Oh crap, this guy's fast! Like I better get rid of the ball." But so I kind of like come off the ground with that knee and just go back and forth, and then it's right knee kick or right knee left foot, right knee up throw. It's kind of just an athletic read that helps me. That really helps me throw, and the biggest thing for me throwing wise is being in that good position with two on 2 feet as I peel that back knee and letting the ball travel as long as I can, because that turns me really good into a good position to be in a tight rotation through, giving all my energy and direction towards second.
Love it. So the blocking piece, when you first got into the knee down, what was kind of the adjustment there?
Yeah, I was like, the ball's right at you, you're fine. You just turn over. And that even took a while to learn. It's just like, oh, crap, I can just turn it over. But for a while going to my right, I would just like fall. It was almost like a leaning tower of Pisa, just like whoop. And then you like actually learn to kind of get on that heel of that left foot and push off it really well, kind of leading with the glove that way. But I would say that you don't necessarily have a ton of range with that, and I don't think you need a ton, because if you're anticipating the pitch well, say slider away, then you can pretty much anticipate the full lane of that pitch and with that heel move where you push this way. So if you anticipate it and you push a little bit, you're gonna like cover that whole area. And then if it goes any further than that, like that's kind of not really up to you. You can do your best to pick it, but it's not going to be on you. So I feel like anticipating and then finding as much possible range that you can push off left or right is super helpful laterally. And then also, like, a lot of times nowadays, I just I pretty much pick a ton. Like, my hands just naturally are really good. I practice them a lot, and so I just pick a lot. And I feel like beyond like what I can get easily with my body, I'm just gonna pick, and it usually works out.
I mean, the pick thing is like, it's amazing. It's kind of a controversial deal because, we get the younger catchers and the coaches are calling them lazy and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like, the reality is, like, the goal is to make them not gain 90 feet. And, if we do it picking, if we do it blocking, it really doesn't matter. The reality is it's in my glove if I pick it. And I think the one knee has added so much to the pick because of the leverage that you're creating off of the ground, right? I mean, the pick that was poor used to be the one where you're like, in this traditional, you made a bad decision, you like sunk all the way down in your stance. You had no athletic ability to actually go and make an aggressive pick on it. So it was more of a give up. But now to see guys like aggressively picking, and we've had guys on here talk about they're practicing picks all the time. It's just becoming a big part of it. So I love that. And again, it's just such an amazing tool. Talk about moving to the other side. So you're pushing off that heel, sliding on the right knee. How are you getting the other way?
Yeah, the other way is so you don't have that heel. If you're in a right knee down, left leg kickstand, you don't have that heel to push off of. So it's pretty much just an athletic move, just to like maneuver your body laterally. And I would say that there's not a ton of misses, like huge misses this way though. Like lefties, yeah, their sliders can go that way, but you can really just position your body as the pitch is coming, and in anticipation, as I was talking about earlier, to where you can cover a good distance. And righties, if they're not going to go huge this way, maybe with a changeup or two, but it's just not going to happen a ton. So you need even less range on the left side. And I think whatever I need on that side is pure athleticism and anticipation, combined with sometimes a lot of times I'll just make I'll be like in a blocking position with my glove, but my glove will just be out there, like my glove will just like I'll block it but catch it. So athleticism, anticipation, and the glove. I think for me, all three, both sides, is what gets it done.
Just that mentality of like, just competitiveness, right? Just go find a way to get it done.
Yeah, just keep it in front of you. Like, keep it in front of you. If it's in your glove, it's better because then you can throw them out easier.
For sure.
But yeah, keep it in front of you. Freaking yeah.
No, for sure. I love it. You made a great play in the World Series on that play at the plate. Again, I think a lot of what we talk about, and I think this is a lot of what gets neglected, is there's a lot of just natural ability and instinct that goes on. But talk about that play. Is that, again, do you guys work on plays at the plate a bunch? Is that something we're going to, or is that just kind of an instinctual thing?
So I would say we didn't really work plays at the plate a ton. Just basically I wanted to plays at the plate. I just want to position myself in the best spot possible to give the runner the lane and then know where to tag and just kind of know where I am, awareness around the plate. But what that play was pure pick instinct. I would venture to say that in pretty much all the bullpens I do, I try to pick every single ball. to practice on it. And that's how my picking has got really good. And like blocking for me is more hockey goalie, more instinctual. So I'll do it off the machine or not do it a ton just because it's so instinctual and just happens. But the pick, I really train a ton in the bullpens. And even on like I would like do reps like near the like infielders do off those little machines where you're just making picks and working the glove through. And just millions of those combined with being in a good spot on the plate, like giving Trey Morgan, who was running the lane, but still being in a good position to catch that ball is just my instincts took over.
For sure. No, sweet. I mean, what a year you guys had. That was incredible. Talk a little bit about now the transition to pro ball, right? I think this is one of those like kind of lost things with our youth athletes of understanding like, hey, you know, college is still you're hanging with the boys and you're having a good time, and it's like you get drafted. This is a job now. This is what you do. Talk a little bit about that transition this summer in terms of that.
Yeah, so it definitely is a job. It is your job now. I would say I've been treating it like that since high school, though. For me, like the way that I've worked in the weight room, the way that I worked every single day with my pitchers and in anything I do, I've wanted to be where I'm at now. So I've worked like that. So in that sense, nothing really changes for me just because it's always been my mentality. But the biggest adjustment for me is learning how to call a game. I think naturally I have good instincts and can do it, but it's the preparation, it's the watching the other hitters, watching their swings, and then learning what your pitchers have and what they do best is huge as well. And to do that really quickly, coming from a Wake Forest staff right to a new staff was an adjustment, and it took a little bit. But I think those guys, the more I learned them and the more they knew me, it's like I'm going to give them everything that I have while I'm with them. Like I'm going to work as hard as I can for them every single pitch. And they know that. So they trust what I'm calling. So they trust to throw their stuff with conviction because they know I'm going to block it. And just basically they know that I'm giving everything to them. So I would say the adjustment from college to pro is just learning new pitchers, learning new staffs, learning how to call the games and read batters and build trust with pitchers. But I feel the more you catch their bullpens, the more you work for them, and basically the more you just interact with them, the more trust you have, and the more they can really pitch to the best of their ability.
And what an impact they have on the decision of who catches them at times too, right? And I think that's like, especially at our younger ages, even in college, it's like these guys are like, I don't know why I'm playing. I'm like, well, like the number one guy to go to bat for you is the guy on the bump.
Yeah.
So you got to invest as much time in them as you possibly can. So do you feel that like, obviously, you know, you have good instincts, you understand the game very well, and you're, you know, very high level at that. But it's the idea that do you feel like we shouldn't be calling pitches at amateur levels to like prepare guys for this?
I think it's tough. In college, it's really tough because all those coaches, it's their livelihood at stake. It's not, I mean, it's obviously about development. You want to get players better, but those coaches' jobs and families and houses are at stake if they do not win. So I understand in college, if the coaches want to do the scouting and call the games, I think that's their right. It's their livelihood at stake. But I think in high school and lower levels, and especially in summer ball, catchers need to be calling their own game. And they need to learn the process of looking at the chart every inning to basically see what you threw last time. And just like the more you can get started on that process earlier, the more you can get started like reading swings and reading batters' feet in the box and all kind of stuff like that, the better you're going to be as you progress throughout your career. So I think amateur levels, it's just all trial and error. It's all learning, and it's great learning. So I think amateur and like younger, it should definitely be incorporated. But in college, it's tough to say that all catchers should be calling the pitches just because the jobs are at stake and it means more in that sense.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's interesting. We don't have like travel ball has become this massive deal, and it's the idea of what team you play for, and if you're successful, more people want to play for you, and if you're not, people leave, and all this, right? And I think the emphasis on winning has been such a killer to this because now you have these coaches at young ages. It's like, dude, they should be able to fail. Like they should fail, and you'd be like, sweet, come on in, we got something to talk about. Let's
Yeah.
learn. And now it's like you fail, you yell at them, you take the privilege away from them. So it's tough, man, at that young ages. When you were playing travel ball, was it the same way at that point?
Yeah, so we obviously we wanted to win, but I was able to call the game. I played for FTB in travel ball, and actually my 16U summer, I'll never forget. It was an incredible summer. My coaches were Joe Girardi and Raul Ibanez.
Oh my God.
Both of their sons were on our team, and Joe had just gotten I think fired by the Yankees. So he first time in his life that he was able to come out and watch his son play, and so he coached us. And obviously, I learned a lot from him on the catching side. But he was huge. He was like, "Yeah, you're going to call the game. You're going to learn, and we're going to talk about everything that goes on, and just have a big collaborative learning process." So I think that's how it should be. But it is tough because all those tournaments now with a lot of money and people want to win. But at the end of the day, at that level, it is about learning and getting better and failing, which happens.
Absolutely. Well, you got to give us some more Girardi tidbits if you got to spend a summer with him. Give us some stories or some stuff he's talked to you about.
Yeah, so he was actually, before I met him, I was catching on 2 feet the whole time, like jumping out, like big, wide, athletic stances, and just like tiring my body doing so. He was like, "Hey, like you're allowed to go on a knee, right? Like you don't have to exert yourself this much every time. Like you can save energy when guys aren't base or whatever." And so I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." And so that was my first time catching on a knee and kind of learning how to conserve my energy a little bit. But his BP is awesome. And what I remember most is just the energy and enthusiasm he brought every single day. It was like he was so appreciative to be with his son for the first time in a long time, watching him play baseball, and you could really tell.
Yeah, those baseball lifers, man, they got a different love and appreciation for the game. I mean, it's so infectious being around those guys. What was Ibanez like?
Same way. Just really cool, really awesome guy. But with those guys, we won a lot, obviously, but really we learned a lot too. Just about how to go about the game, more so than any technical skill or whatever. How to go about as 16-year-olds is vital. That we learned how to go about the game, how to go about preparation, how to treat people in the game, and just kind of all those lessons that you don't learn unless you learn it from people who have done it before. So those two were awesome, and I've still I think I saw Joe a couple years ago, and it was just like an incredible interaction. So we still have a good relationship, and Raul too. He's great.
It's awesome. That's such a cool opportunity.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So another hot topic I want your opinion on, because you went through it, is the transfer portal. So this is a big, obviously, to do. Talk a little bit about, I think there's always talk about the negative connotations of it. There's obviously positives that people don't want to talk about. Talk about your experience, what happened, why you entered the portal, and how it helped you.
Yeah, so our Tulane head coach got fired my sophomore year, and I loved him. It's great. He was awesome.
He's the man, by the way.
Yeah, he's the man.
I love that guy, dude.
Yeah, he's the man. But when that happened, none of us were sure what was going to happen. And so a lot of us entered the portal out of self-protection and just kind of to see what was out there. And once I went into the portal and had all the opportunities that I did have, it was really a no-brainer that I was gonna transfer, just because it's a life-changing opportunity to go play for a big school like Wake. And my best friend from high school, was Wake's closer, Camden Manassi. And so kind of I talked to him a little bit, and Wake was just the perfect fit for me. But on the transfer portal, I think it's a good thing for the game. There's obviously good and bad. Like for me, it was awesome because I was able to elevate myself to a higher level and prove what I could do at the higher level, and it helped me to get where I am now. But for other people, it's tough. Having a culture of guys, and this is credit to LSU, who had a bunch of players who are getting a lot of money to come to LSU, and to have a culture mesh together and play for each other as a team with that is really hard. So that's credit to them. But I think the portal is a good thing for the game. It's just a lot. It's just tough because there's so many kids in there, and it really is kind of a mess. But ultimately, I think it's a good thing for the game.
So you throw your name in the portal, and it's like anybody can call you and go, and you're just getting bombarded at that point.
Pretty much, yeah. Right when you enter.
I feel like these coaches need like a ticker or something in their office of like a brand new guy comes through. They got to know immediately and get going on it.
Like those coaches are like on the database all day, like looking for people. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's it is one of those things that you're there's pros and cons to everything, right? And I think at the end of the day, I think there's obviously some stuff that's annoying in the sense of like, we want guys to have some loyalty and some like stick-to-itiveness. Hey, let's deal with this. Let's get through this, right? But you do have situations like you had a coach brought you in, and he left, and you didn't know what to expect. How things would be, and would be different. And there's life hardships and things like that also play into factors. And at the end of the day, like, dude, if you're not competing with yourself every single day, regardless, like, what are we doing? I mean, you need to be acting like, someone can boot you out of the school at any point in time. You need to be acting like, you could be better and someone else can come in at any point in time. So creating competitiveness is good. I think the negative is the lack of competitiveness in a lot of guys to want to do that, So I think it's kind of more, rather than the problem in the system, there's a problem in how guys are dealing with adversity and things like that at times too.
I think, and I think another benefit is just you need to, wherever you're at, you need to play. To get better, to get noticed, you have to play. And I think having the ability to just transfer and go play is a good thing. Because I have a lot of teammates that necessarily like didn't start a ton at Tulane or Wake, but went and played somewhere. And now they're getting opportunities and you can get seen that way. So I think that's another benefit to it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, how many times, you get into a situation where it's like, man, it's just, and I tell catchers all the time, right? Because coaching catchers is tough on the recruiting piece of it, because it's like, they're always like, oh, I want to go here. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. There's only like really 3 catchers on a team. You kind of have like a 4th guy that's a walk-on or something like that. But it's like, you really got 3 guys. So it's like, you want to go there. Now they've already committed guys, even if it's in your class or the 2 classes around you, it becomes difficult. So it's like, you got to, you got to be able to get it. If you get into the first situation, you go, crap, this ain't it. Different strokes for different folks, man. I don't think that we should be judging people on their situations. We're all going to deal with it differently. I feel for the college coaches that have to, you'd be like, you're constantly kind of recruiting your own players essentially all the time. Make sure they don't want to bail.
Yeah, tough. And then with NIL nowadays, it's like a whole nother dimension to it.
Dive into that a little bit. The NIL thing's interesting, and we don't really get a lot of insight into that. Are schools themselves able to they have relationships with companies that are getting you guys deals? And is it just based on, your social media followings, like things like that?
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure how it works is like they go through all the big schools have like a collective of boosters, of people that kind of donate to this collective, and that pool of money that's, I guess, somehow considered NIL is distributed to the players however the coach wants to do it. And I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but I just think that's what happens. Yeah.
Is there any sort of like exchange of like, you got to post about this or that, or like whatever, things like that?
Yeah, there has to be. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. It is a whole nother ballgame, dude. I feel like 100 years old now thinking about when I played college, because it was so different. It was like nothing was on TV, we had no social media was just getting started. So like you didn't have any of that. And it's like, it's the freaking wild, wild west out there now, man. It's nuts. So I finish always with one last question here. If you've listened, you may know, but we like food. And I like to think of where everybody's come from as a collective to kind of put this map together of, where to eat wherever. So I need you to give me your one recommendation to eat. I mean, you've been to some good places. You obviously were in New Orleans. So,
Yeah.
I mean, gotta be some places there, but give me one place that comes to mind anywhere along your baseball journey for food.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to go to New Orleans because I did not have one bad meal in New Orleans.
I'll believe it.
A Tulane baseball alum actually owns this restaurant, and it's Desi Vega's Steakhouse. New Orleans is incredible. Best steak I've ever had, and then just incredible.
What's your cut of meat?
I like fillets.
Oh, really?
Fillet guy. Medium rare, medium in that area.
I like it.
I like the bone marrow too. I'm into that.
Nice. The red-blooded American.
That's right.
Love it. Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming on. This is the type of stuff that's so valuable for our youth athletes, and talking about all these things, and you taking the time to come on here, it means a lot to us. Yeah,
thanks so much for having me. I've followed you guys for a while, and just me researching on Instagram and looking at watching other catchers kind of work is super helpful for me. So the more you guys post, the more I learn, and the better I can be. So thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And wish you the best of luck, man.
Yeah, thanks so much.
If you enjoyed that, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll have a new episode for you every single Tuesday here on our YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.